Thank you, and thanks for the opportunity to come here. It's always a pleasure to be among scientists, and have very much enjoyed the talks, including the previous one. But for the past 20 years, I have been a bureaucrat at WMO or at running the Finnish Meteorological Institute, which is half science institution. At WMO, we have practically all of the UN members are our members, and we are this year celebrating our 150th anniversary, and thanks to our efforts, we have been setting standards for the global observing systems. We have been able to detect the climate change component, and we are also working for the greenhouse gas standard setting, and those are of course needed for the detection of the climate signal. And our work is very much done by our members, and you academic people, you are part of the family, and we have also a private sector as part of our family since last 4 years. And IPCC is our baby, and besides the IPCC reports, we are publishing annual status of climate reports to demonstrate where we are, and I will show some results from such a report. This evening I will fly to Cuba, where we will tomorrow publish the Latin American status of climate report. And inside UN we have a climate core group led by Secretary General Guterres, and I'm one of the 4 members of that group, and we have very close cooperation with him, and he's personally very committed to climate mitigation and also climate adaptation action. At WMO we have carried out major reforms during the past 7 years, and we have, for example, started thinking of Earth system instead of thinking of weather, climate, water separately, and all the service sectors separately. And we have established scientific advisory panel, and some of you are members of that panel, and you are giving us guidance what may happen during the coming decades, where the world is moving, and this kilometer scale climate modeling is clearly one of those initiatives that our scientific advisory panel was promoting, and our Congress a few weeks ago was giving a light green light for this initiative. They are not very happy with the physical center as a first instance, but they are happy with the basic concept. And we have paid more attention to the hydrology issues because the impacts of climate change, they are very much felt through water, and then also it's a key component of disaster. We have new data policy in place. We have been setting new standards for the global observing systems, GBON, and we have also reshaped our secretariat business, and I'm very proud of the staffing of the organization. One of our sister organizations is the World Economic Forum, and they are on annual basis estimating which are the biggest risks for the global economy, and this year in January when they met, they made an estimate for the coming 2 years, and there, for example, this war in Ukraine is number 3, but if you look at this 10 years scale, you can see that climate mitigation failure, climate adaptation failure, and these natural disasters, they are number 1, 2, and 3. So the issues that we are dealing with, they are also very well understood by the economic community, and that's again promoting the necessity to create some new things around climate modeling. Early warnings for all is one of our new initiatives, and we got the mandate from Secretary General Guterres a little bit more than a year ago to prepare an action plan to improve the situation worldwide, to improve the observing systems, the early warning service capacities, and also the impact of early warning services. And we prepared this kind of action plan, which was presented to the COP27 in Sharm el-Sheikh last year, and it was a joint venture of WMO, UNDRR, which is dealing with disasters, Telecommunication Union, and also Red Cross, Red Croissant organization, and we have plenty of other partners on board. And the challenge is that only half of our members have proper early warning services in place, and we are very much talking about multi-hazard early warning services, not only meteorology but also hydrology, geophysics, ocean, and so forth. And we have major gaps, for example, in African countries, in island states in Pacific, and also island states in Caribbean, and also in Europe we have some countries that don't have proper services in place. And we have prepared an action plan where we have 4 pillars, and altogether the investment need is $3.1 billion for the coming 5 years, and we have components which are very much hitting the necessity to create this EVE system. We have to have this disaster risk knowledge, and we have to know what's going to happen, what are the risks that we are going to face, and also this preparedness and response capabilities. Various authorities in the countries have to know what may happen, what is the risk of major flooding, major drought or tropical storm. And of course we are going to invest in the observing systems and the basic early warning service skills. And this was heavily endorsed by the COP27, and now we are heading towards COP28, and we have already started interaction with the incoming COP28 presidency, and they are very much in favor of that initiative, and that was also debated at the United Nations Water Conference last March. There will be a climate conference in Kigali this October, science conference in Kigali this October, and Secretary General Guterres will host the Climate Action Summit in September during the high-level week, and I'm in charge of certain components of that summit. And the launch was taking place in Sharm el-Sheikh with the presence of Secretary General Guterres, and we had 10 heads of state present there, many of my colleagues from other international organizations, and also the Vice President of Microsoft, Brad Smith, was physically present at the launch event. And since then we have been preparing the concrete action, and we have been very much interacting with the cabinet of Secretary General Guterres, and also we have had a couple of meetings in Abu Dhabi already with President Al-Jaber and his team, and in Geneva we have been collaborating with UNDRR and Red Cross, Red Croissant, and also ITU. And there's a need for training as well, so we have major gaps in less developed countries when it comes to experts, and we have to invest also in that field. And the observing systems, we have both these ground-based surface observations, we have sounding observations, and all the red colors on the maps indicate where we have gaps, and you can see what's the situation in African countries, island states in Pacific and Caribbean, and some parts of Latin America and Asia as well. And we have already a little bit less than $100 million in our pocket to improve the situation, and we have selected 62 countries already where we are going to work this year and next year, and the first investments will take place early next year. And the basic idea is that by the end of 27 we would have proper coverage of those observations, and we would reserve some money for the maintenance of the stations thereafter. And those gaps were also seen in the most recent IPCC report. Here we have observed heat wave frequencies, flooding frequencies, and drought frequencies, and all these gray symbols on the global maps indicate areas where we don't have enough data to say whether there has been a change. And especially in the flooding case, we have plenty of gray areas on the map, and this is demonstrating that we don't even know the climatic baseline, which is a major challenge. And for the drought case, it's a little bit better, but still we have gaps. And in temperature case, we have only a few gaps in the southern part of South America and Central Africa. And as you all know, climate change is already very, very visible, and we are publishing these annual status of climate reports globally, but we have also published them in various regions a couple of weeks ago for Europe, for example, where we demonstrated that Europe has warmed double the global average. And in temperature, we are just moving from La Niña phase to El Niño phase, and that means that for sure we will hit the all-time high in global temperatures during the coming 5 years, and there's 66% probability that we would hit 1.5 at least on temporary basis, and that may be politically a sensitive situation when that happens. And we have stored more than 90% of the excess heat to oceans, and at all of the depths of ocean we have seen this warming taking place. And we have started seeing loss of Antarctic sea ice, which is a new feature. In the past it used to be fairly stable or even slightly increasing. And we have doubled the sea level rise during the past 20 years, and there's a growing component coming from melting of glaciers, and especially Greenland, and more recently also Antarctic glacier. And we have started losing the mass of glaciers, and for example in Switzerland a year ago we lost 6.2% of the glacier mass, which is the highest number so far. There was this heat wave was contributing. We had less snowfall as normally, and there was also a component coming from the Sahara dust, but this trend is of course very striking. And these disasters, they are having impacts on human health. We have been lucky to see a decrease of the human casualties, but the economic losses are dramatically growing. We have seen fivefold increase since the 70s in those, and flooding and storms are the most striking ones when it comes to a global economy. And here I will show you 3 slides concerning what has been happening to the amount of disasters and various types of disasters. These symbols are fairly small, but it's demonstrating that we have seen an increase of disasters, especially flooding and tropical storm ones, and heat waves, and this is valid for the richest countries. And then we will go to the least developed countries, and you can see that the symbols are much larger. So the economies may be hit by 15 to 20% when it comes to annual GDP loss. And if you go to small island developing states, you can see the symbols are very big, and this is very much tropical storms which are driving those. And so far, this 2017 was a very dramatic year. For example, Dominica lost 800% of its GDP in one day when Category 5 hurricane was hitting the island. And we have started seeing also growth of food insecurity. There has been a positive trend until most recent years, but the trend has been bending, and we have started seeing growing amount of people who are suffering from food insecurity. And for example, this Horn of Africa is one of the important regions, but also in Latin America and Caribbean, almost 30 million people have been suffering because of that last year, and of course these displacements, they are also an issue. And one question that we have in climate science is the question: what's going to happen to the sea level rise? And there we would need also this higher resolution of climate modeling. We have to understand the ocean glacier atmosphere interaction, and with the current models it may be difficult. And what has been shown in the IPCC report is that the potential of 10 meters sea level rise by 2300, it's a very dramatic number, and if that would take place, it would be a globally major disaster. And that's again demonstrating the need to go to this higher resolution of climate modeling to evaluate what is that, do we have such a risk, or is it just some sort of science fiction? But these numbers are fairly dramatic. And then this water resource management is also an issue. How much water we will have for various purposes in the future. And we have started publishing annual status of water reports, and in our recent report a few months ago we showed what is the fraction of water having origins from melting of glaciers, and what is the fraction coming from rain-fed water resources. And all these light blue in the colors here indicate the fraction coming from melting of glaciers. And we know that all of the mountain glaciers are melting, and we are getting less and less water to the rivers. For example, in Central Asia, this is very striking striking issue, and the mountain glaciers are melting. And it's the same for Rocky Mountains, and Andes, and Himalayas, and also Alpine region. And we are also losing these groundwater resources, especially in Eurasian continent and some parts of both Americas. This is trend for the past 20 years. And it's also hitting the energy sources. Once we have less cooling water for nuclear power plants, thermal power plants like in China, and of course it's affecting also hydropower production. And then we have another initiative which is related to greenhouse gas monitoring. We all know these records in all main greenhouse gases, and we know the numbers behind those, and we know that there are big uncertainties, especially this land use component of carbon carries fairly big uncertainty, and also the sources of methane are not too well understood. And that's why our Congress a few weeks ago approved a new approach, Global Greenhouse Gas Watch, where we are using ground-based information, flux measurements, satellites, and assimilation and modeling tools to create the global balance of those three gases. And we are now promoting the operational phase of that, and we are discussing with Copernicus whether Europeans could run the first set of this kind of work. And for this climate modeling, we need also global efforts. It's important that we unify the forces worldwide, not only the richest countries, but also we need to have the Asian countries on board and Southern Hemispheric countries on board. And WMO offers such a platform for that work. And also, we are interested in getting private sector engaged in the work. We have had lots of interaction with Microsoft, Google, and Meta, and there are various players in private sector who are interested in contributing and also financing some of the action, and that's something that we could consider also here. And finally, my needs and concluding remarks. We have to better understand what's going to happen to the weather extremes in the future. We are not able to do it with the current climate models, and that's should be one of the drivers of the whole enterprise. And also this hydrological cycle, as was shown also in the previous presentation, we have major uncertainties there, and the better description of the hydrological cycle is clearly needed. And then yesterday there was one mention about this geoengineering, solar radiation modification. There's a lobby which is promoting that, and there's a need to study what kind of risks are faced with that. And also in the UN there are discussions going on, and it may appear at the COP28, and the science community should respond to that and demonstrate the risks if we go to such technologies. Sea level rise, that's one of the major issues, and we are going to have a workshop with the COP28 presidency in late September to prepare some of those initiatives, early warning services for all, global greenhouse gas watch, and also this kilometer scale climate modeling to be endorsed by the COP 2028. And those issues will be also handled at the United Nations Climate Action Summit in September, and also Science Conference in Kigali. That's all from my side, and thanks for the opportunity to address you.